Hey guys, it's Morgan coming back to you with another tech video. This is a video you guys already saw the thumbnail. You know what we're talking about. We're talking about setting the TPS voltage value on your XC, your 300XC or 300XCW. I would imagine it's all the same. Anyway, these new TBI bikes. I've been doing a lot of research. A lot of you guys are having problems fouling plugs, even with the BR70S. Even with different map updates, you're still fouling plugs, still super rich. My bike has always been a bit rich. I do run more oil in my bike, which makes it drool maybe a little bit more than normal. But I really haven't had any problems with fouling plugs, even with the original BR80S, and then when we switched quickly to the 7, which yes, I thought my bike came with a 7. It did not come with a 7. It came with an 8, but I switched over early. I'm a busy man. Things slipped my mind. But anyway, so I've been doing some research and figured out how to set the TPS on here without a special tool. So I'm here to show you guys that and what the value should be and all that good stuff. So first things first, to set TPS value correctly, you have to back out the idle adjust and the cold start adjust all the way so there's no pressure on the plate at all. Zero. Can't be any pressure on the plate. The thing's got to be completely closed. Got to make sure there's plenty of free play in the cables, all that good stuff, right? So you start there,
the voltage,
back everything off. The higher the voltage, the more gas going in.
I already did it.
The lower the voltage, the less gas going in. That's why when you twist the throttle,
which is the
turn that thing on and have it be on, you twist the throttle, the voltage goes up.
What we gotta do is you gotta take,
means it gets more and more gas.
Cover off of here.
I use the bulletproof designs. I like it a lot.
It covers the
if you feel like it's a little lean,
injector,
you can set that a little high, a little over 400
here.
If you feel like it's rich, you can go a little under. But just don't go crazy with it. Just try to keep it close to that 0.400
your
wire harness from
if it's way high.
That may be why you're fouling plugs, because it's just running super rich. And you're going to get something to probe the back, guys. You got to have to figure this out. Paper clips work, real skinny ones. These are made specifically for back probing, so they've got these plastic shields on them so they don't touch and all that. They're nice. I would recommend buying a set. I don't know, Amazon or something like that. I don't think Rocky Mountain ATV sells them, so it's not a commercial for Rocky Mountain ATV, but I do have to thank them. They are the biggest sponsors of the channel. I do have to thank them. If you think about it, use the link in the description to buy something from them if you normally buy things from them. But honestly, stay local if you can, buy local if you can first. That's most important. Then if you can't, consider using our link. But you won't be able to find these on there. You got to go to your local electrical store or something like that. So you're going to back probe the black and yellow. It's black and then yellow with a red tracer, kind of. Anyway, black and yellow, close enough. Back probe those. Then we got to go back on. Now my phone's ringing. Now we're going to set our meter to volts DC. Now if we touch these, you'll see nothing happens because the bike's not on. There's a little bit of residual, but that anyway. So what we do is we bump the start button. There we go. You see 392.392. So you don't have much time when you're doing it this way. We could probably trigger that thing and make it stay on, but I'm showing you guys how to do this like without a whole bunch of stuff. So 0.392 is actually a little bit low. It's supposed to be 0.40. So the voltage, the higher the voltage, the more gas going in. The lower the voltage, the less gas going in. And that's why when you twist the throttle, if you could turn that thing on and have it be on, you twist the throttle, the voltage goes up as you twist the throttle. That means it gets more and more gas based on the throttle position. So if you feel like it's a little lean, you can set that a little high, you know, a little over 400. If you feel like it's rich, you can go a little under, but just don't go crazy with it. Just try to keep it close to that 0.400 mark and you'll be good. If it's way high, that may be why you're fouling plugs, because it's just running super rich when the bike is, especially when it's cold. So this is gonna be harder to do, like I said, doing it this way, but I'll show you how to adjust it so you can see what it looks like. All right, guys, to adjust this, you got to get a Torx, whatever size this is, I don't know, probably T25, and you're going to just loosen these bolts. You don't need to take them out, right? So you want to loosen like that, because the TPS holes that go through are oval. So now we can turn this thing. Now we'll check it again. Obviously, with the tool to trigger all this thing is much easier, but this is a way you guys can do it with just a multimeter and a couple things. That's a little high. I'd probably rather go a little low than high. Oh, right there, boom. All right, now guys, we're just gonna tighten it back down. There we go, 0.398. That is good enough for me. Tighten everything back up, put the cover back on, make sure it's all good, and then we're just gonna turn the idle up until we get the idle right, and then we'll turn the cold start up until that's good. Get it all set, and I'll show you kind of what I what I want the bike to sound like when both of those are how they are. All right, guys, so I got it set where I want. Let's check it out. So I'm gonna hit this. It's gonna be just the idle. I don't have the cold start on right now. That sounds pretty good. Again, the bike is still cold, so it's gonna be the cold map. This is what I like for it to sound like when I hit the cold start. Now, some of you nerds are gonna ask me what those RPMs are. I don't know. I don't know what those RPMs are. That's just what I like it to sound like. So it's not that critical to get the RPM exactly right. The important part is that when you push the cold start, it opens up and it idles high. When you roll it off, it still idles. So that's the important part, guys. Fiddle with it. Get it to where you like it. It's gonna be just fine. So, and a quick note on how I start my 300XC TBI. It's weird how many people, well, it's not actually, I shouldn't say it's weird. It's crazy how many people are super interested in like how the warm-up procedure and all that, because everybody got so freaked out by the TPI bikes because you could scratch up the cylinders if you didn't warm it up right. It was really easy to do. I treat this just like a carbureted bike, as far as like whether I blip the throttle or anything like that. But let me tell you, the cold start is just opening the throttle body, or opening the blade on the throttle just a little bit to compensate for the very rich map. When you start these bikes and there's no heat in the motor, it defaults to a very rich map, which it should, just like a choke, right? So the choke, the thing you're pushing, has nothing to do with the mapping of the bike. Zero. 100% zero. It has to do with the temperature of the coolant. That's why they have a thermostat in the coolant line. So it does, that little thing doesn't change the mapping when you hit that. All that does is an air bypass to compensate for the richness. So if you start these things when it's cold outside, or even when it's not cold outside, and you don't do that, sometimes you can foul a plug because it's so rich and it's not letting any extra air by to make up for that richness. So that's why you do that. You open that thing up, hit the button, it should idle up nice and high because it's dumping a whole bunch of extra gas. So I let it run like that for a couple of minutes, I don't know, and then I click, push the throttle forward, click it off, and then I sit there and I'll blip the throttle until the thing will idle nice and smooth, and then I take off. I make sure there's some heat in the radiators. I can just feel it in my hand. I take off. I don't hold it wide open until it's all the way hot. I just use my brain and my knowledge of the, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours on two-stroke. So, and that's not a Slavin's like, oh, listen to me, I'm the most knowledgeable. I've just spent a lot of time on two-strokes, and I have blown them up, and I have learned not to blow them up the hard way. So I'm telling you right now, the best way I know is to make sure you can put your hand on the radiator, feel some real heat in there, and then take off. If you have a thermostat and it works better than the Tusk one that's on mine, make sure it's got 100, 110 degrees in it. But otherwise, just feel it, make sure it's warm, take off, ride, kind of be, pay attention. Also on these TBI bikes, you'll feel it clean up when it gets to the right temp, because you'll ride it and you'll notice it feels like it's loading up. It's not loading up like a carburetor. It's loading up because, again, it's a rich map. It hasn't warmed up enough. The computer doesn't know that it's warmed up enough to to turn to the leaner map. That's the difference, right? So when it cleans up, when the bike cleans up and gets nice and clean and crisp, then I just go ride it. Hope that helps you guys. Anyway, I hope you guys like that. We'll see you on the next one.